Since underutilization can lead to cash flow and profitability issues, it's important that professional services firm owners start understanding how their teams are spending their time early on. Agency and professional services firm business owners that feel busy all the time but aren't seeing the financial results they expect typically don't have a very good bead on where all of their team members are spending their time. And it's very important to remember that for professional service businesses like ad agencies and law firms, your people's time is your inventory. It begins with the professional service firm owners understanding that their people's time is their inventory. So what I mean by that is a retailer sells merchandise, and that merchandise is the retailer's inventory. Well, remember, as a professional services firm, what we're selling is our people's time, our people's hours. Those hours are our inventory. And just like the retailer puts a lot of effort into tracking the merchandise they sell, professional services firm owners need to put a lot of effort into tracking the hours that they sell. Professional services firm owners need to understand two things with respect to their folks: capacity and utilization. So capacity is basically their inventory. That's the number of hours they have available to work for your professional services firm. And utilization is a productivity measure that can tell you how many of those hours or what percent of those hours were spent performing revenue generating activities. So let's talk about how to calculate these. Capacity is a pretty simple calculation. It's here's the number of hours that I'm paying this resource for the entire year, which typically is about 20/80. That's 40 hours a week times 52 hours a year. And then you subtract the amount of PTO you expect this person to take and the holiday time. And once you take those things away, which you're paying your employees for, but are not revenue generating activities, you then get to this kind of baseline number of hours that I like to call capacity. This is the amount of time now that I have for this employee to work for me, whether it's performing internal tasks or performing services for clients. Now, the simplest way to calculate utilization is to take the total number of direct client hours worked by a resource and divide by their capacity. In other words, divide by the total number of hours that you're paying that resource for. And where I see professional services firms go awry is that they sometimes fail to remember that it's okay for different resources to have different utilization expectations. It's okay to have your client-facing or fully client-facing resources have some super high utilization expectation, like 80, 90%, and have somebody who has more managerial or internal duties to have something on the lower end. It's not uncommon for teams at professional services firms to feel overworked while ownership isn't seeing the profits that they want. And in those cases, we typically recommend that the leadership team do a deep dive into where everybody at the shop is putting their time, how they're spending their time, what they're working on. And remember that servicing clients is what brings in the revenue. So it's critical that your primary client delivery team, client service delivery team, is spending the bulk of their time on client services, and you're minimizing the amount of non-client work that you have assigned to those folks. You're paying your team whether they're servicing your clients or whether they're working on an internal project. Remember, these internal projects don't have revenue coming in the door and cash coming in the door to offset the cash that you're paying your employees. And that's why it's so important that agency owners and other professional services firm owners are monitoring a key metric like utilization. Since underutilization can lead to cash flow and profitability issues, it's important that professional services firm owners start understanding how their teams are spending their time early on. Owners should be monitoring utilization as part of their monthly reporting package. And they need to ensure that they're holding themselves accountable for the amount of non client work that they expect out of their client service teams. And I assure you that professional service firm owners who take the time to understand this information early on will avoid utilization issues in the future.